For this critique, I'm going to be discussing this small flower shop. It seems to be constructed primarily from cardstock and paper, but the pieces are layered and have lots of cutouts and bright colors and miniature flowers that create a charming and dimensional storefront. It's very whimsical and it feels like it's got this handcrafted quality that immediately gives the feeling of it belonging in some sort of storybook. So, this piece is a small three dimensional sculpture. It's very representational. It doesn't show us an abstract form, it shows us a very recognizable building. It seems to be made mostly from cardstock and layered paper. And these layers create a roof, windows, doors, and decorative trim. There's also some small artificial flowers that add to both the theme of the shop and give it some more dimension. The color palette is mostly warms. There are creams, browns, and some soft blues, but it's also accented with some really bright colors. There's pinks, yellows, and purples. We can find these in the flowers. The textures are mostly smooth because of the type of paper that was chosen, but they're layered in a way that still gives it dimension and a type of rhythm. Some of the roof shingles and the door are very curved, and um, this helps to contrast against some of the harsher straight lines, which can be found in the panes and in some of the beams along the front. The very first thing that catches my attention is definitely the bright blue door. It's surrounded by these colorful flowers, and the contrast of this cool bright blue on top of the cream and some of the other browns, I think it creates a very nice focal point. I think that it's very effective in creating emphasis. The blue front door stands out against all of the warm neutrals, and it naturally draws the viewer's eyes towards the entrance. And the flowers that surround the building help to also guide the eyes towards the door, and they also reinforce the overall theme of this storybook store. The building is very symmetrical. It creates a sense of balance and stability. The repeated roof shingles establish rhythm, while the consistent use of rounded shapes helps to soften the architecture and contributes to the friendly appearance of it. Layering is used throughout the piece to create even more depth, and despite the simple materials, um, there's still so many different pieces that stick out. So, like the flowers, the window boxes, the roof shingles, and the doorway, they all are projected outward slightly. And that makes it feel more engaging than it would if you were just to, say, paint those pieces on. It helps it feel like it has actual form. And I also think that the limited color palette helps to create unity. So there's still many bright colors, but they all kind of tie into the same palette. So it doesn't feel like you're just throwing color in there. It all feels intentional to create a certain kind of aesthetic. So it feels like overall this piece is much less concerned with realism than it is that in creating a story. It creates a sense of warmth and imagination, and it feels like it would be from a fairy tale or an illustrated children's book. It feels like my first thoughts are the person who lives there is kind and warm and friendly, and it's someone that you'd want to know. It's someone that you'd feel like you could turn to. And I think that this is done not just with the composition and with all of the pieces, but the very colors that are used, the little details, everything's very rounded and soft and lovely. And that makes it feel like it is a safe, friendly place. And like I said, it's got a very nice handcrafted quality that adds to its charm. Rather than striving for this kind of perfect realism, it feels like this work embraces a very playful aesthetic that encourages viewers to kind of imagine and live in this peaceful and welcoming world. I think overall that the sculpture is very successful. It communicates such a cheerful and whimsical atmosphere. I think its greatest strength is its ability to make simple paper materials feel very expressive. And I think this is done mostly through the very thoughtful layering, attention to detail, and the very specific color choices. The repetition of the roof shingles and the small floral accents help to create visual interest, but they still maintain unity throughout the composition. They don't seem like they're just randomly placed. And the craftsmanship is super, super clean and consistent, which helps the miniature building feel like it is polished, it is complete. Um, if I were to develop it further, I'd maybe add some additional landscape, maybe climbing vines. But overall, the sculpture is very warm, it's creative, and I think it does a very good job of creating atmosphere.